And now we're getting to our second series of Group B. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ghost River, we have our blue Protoss player representing Team Liquid, one of the favorites for this group. One of the best Protoss players in Europe. It is SKillous. We go, and spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the red Protoss player representing Team Roddy from Czechia. It is Sebesdes. Let's go. Let us go. Now, hopefully we're a little bit warmed up. We, of course, just wrapped up Sebesdes versus Geralt, and Geralt was looking very informed. He was very in control of that series, but we mentioned at the time, this is the kind of first big event of Sebesdes' career. He is a newer, younger up-and-comer. He's still on the rise and still looking to make a name for himself, still looking to gain experience in a lot of these events, as this is his first HomeStory Cup and his first big event of this size. So I'm here to see his rise. We're here to kind of embrace that and to have eyes on some new, fresh talent in StarCraft. But now, 2-gate opener. 2-gate opener here at the Sebesdes, likewise 2-gate opener at the SKillous. So far, nothing too crazy, but we are loading into Ghost River. Ghost River, of course, is a very small map, very congested. It doesn't take long at all to go from side to side, from base to base. As a result, we've seen a lot of aggression on this map, a lot of all-ins, and we'll see if either player does embrace an all-in. We just had an interview with SKillous. SKillous, he was on the casting couch earlier. He, after his series versus Thermal, did win the series, and he was interviewed. He was asked about, how he feels about his group and whether he's even afraid of anyone in the group. He said no. He said no one in the group is one that he's really too concerned about. So he's very confident. He's coming off very confident. SKillous, I mean, is coming off very confident in this group stage for good reason, but we'll see if he can be tripped up. We'll see if we can slow him down. As for now, double adept opener. Double adept opener out of SKillous. It's going to be Stalker Sentry out of Sebesdes. This is a much more standard macro opener from our red Protoss player, something more aggressive out of our blue Protoss. Now with double adept, we can move out across the map. We could follow this up with a third and fourth adept, and even go up to 6 adepts as well. We'll see how aggressive SKillous wants to be. As he moves out, this probe should get an eye on the units of choice. There we go, as the adepts have arrived. Gonna be moving out, shading across the map, threatening a shade into the bases, threatening some economic damage. Meanwhile, back at home, we're expanding. It is going to be double adept into double sentry, so SKillous opens up aggressively, but he's not going for hyper aggression. He's not committing to additional adepts, just the 2 for now. And 2 adepts is all you need to one-shot a probe. So adepts do move out. Sentries back at home to defend. Likewise, sentries also allow you to scout, as they give you the ability to go for a hallucination, to zoom across the map and to scout our opponent. That is why we went for a sentry opener. That's why Sebesdes is moving out with his first hallucination already. Meanwhile, adepts are keeping Sebesdes busy back at home. So far, so good. We're able to keep up. Hallucination will dive in, and we will confirm the tech of choice. It's going to be a Twilight Council opener out of SKillous. Hallucination will confirm this. Likewise, across the map, Sebesdes is going for a Robo opener instead. Interesting. So, our first big divergence in this PvP. I mean, outside of our initial units, of course. But with a Robo opener, we can go for a Safety Observer first. We can go for some Immortal production as well. We can be a little bit aggressive with a War Prism opener. The Prism allows us to get across the map and get the Adepts into the mineral line without having to go through the wall. But there we go. It's going to be the Immortal first. Okay. So very fast Immortal production here from Sebesdes. This can lead into an all-in, where you build up towards a second Immortal as well, but the Adepts shade in. No! They do shade in, boys are being pulled, and probes are going down. Aye. It's going to be 4 dead workers in the main. Not quite 5, but 4 is good enough. Hallucination also confirms the tech of choice, confirms the Immortal production. As the Immortal does warp in, and SKillous does confirm. So the dynamic we're going to have here is that SKillous will have the more mobile army with Blink, meanwhile Sebesdes will have a bit of a beefier army with Immortals. In a head-to-head fight, Sebesdes will have the advantage with a heavy Immortal count against Stalkers, but SKillous will be able to outposition. He's going to be able to outmaneuver the army, go for a backstab, pick off the Prism, pick off an Immortal here or there. We have a lot of micro potential for SKillous. We'll see how this all does come together. Likewise, hallucinations just checking each other, keeping an eye on the gateway counts. We can see a 3rd gateway on the way for SKillous before we expand. So SKillous being a little bit more aggressive here with additional warp-ins. And Sebesdes, do we push in on 2 bases? We are. Prism's on the way. That's to reinforce on the front lines. That's to, of course, juggle our units defensively as well. As it is kind of like a pseudo blink. Throwing down a Twilight Council. SKillous is expanding, so it's going to be 3-gate blink into an expansion. Meanwhile, Sebesdes is staying on 2 bases, taking up even further before going for his 3rd. But I imagine he should be going for a 3rd. Especially with the Twilight Council on the way to take up, we should be looking to take an expansion from here, but we'll see. Keep an eye on Sebesdes. For the time being, SKillous taking a more defensive stance. We have a proxy pylon to reinforce across the map. Nation is moving out, and the goal here for SKillous, he has to see whether or not there's an expansion. We can see there is none, and so does SKillous. We confirm there is no 3rd base, and it's going to be a 2-base all-in. We go for a big gateway explosion. That's 4 gates on the way, and we see everything. Oh my god. So it's going to be a 6-gate 2-base all-in out of Sebesdes going into Glaives, but the hallucination confirms, and SKillous now knows not to be too greedy. What do we need? We need additional gateways to keep up. We need additional shield batteries as well. Warp-ins. We cannot cut warp-ins. And there we go. More gates are on the way. Even another. And getting up to 6 gates as well. Now again, Sebesdes will be able to hit quite hard with this, but SKillous at least already has forewarning. And there it is. A big wall of shield batteries. 3 shield batteries in production, 4 in total. It'd be nice to see a backup pylon just in case. We're going to have the overcharge as well. We are heavily fortifying ourselves here at the 3rd wave, ready for the all-in. Speaking of, it's coming. We are moving out. We have 3 immortals now. With all these sentries, we have a lot of force field potential, so we can slice up the army, zone some of the army away, and get on top of these shield batteries, but it is still not going to be easy against SKillous. He already saw it coming, and he's ready. Even more shield batteries. Oh my god! We have a 2nd pylon. We're getting a 5th and a 6th shield battery here at the 3rd. Adepts are shading in. Well, Sebesdes, what do we have to work with? We are up to 4 immortals. Adepts take it into the mineral line. Probes are going down. We're forcing the all-in. Force fields do catch some sentries. And it goes both ways. Good juggling here from Sebesdes. He does evacuate some adepts. Does evacuate, but time is on SKillous' side. The longer this goes on, the better it is for SKillous. We do try to isolate some of these stalkers. We blink back. First shield battery going to be going down. SKillous coming in from behind, going for the prism. He does come in from behind. The prism is going to be sniped. It's going to go down. We deny any warp-ins, any reinforcements. A couple of boys are being pulled. Immortals are being targeted down. Not bad. We do catch 2 immortals, but we dive on the immortals on Sebesdes. And again, he has no reinforcements. He's being targeted down. We're down to 3, down to 2. Down to 2 immortals. We do force the army back. 7 pros went down. Here come the reinforcements. More adepts moving out. Another immortal has arrived. And now we're down to 1 immortal. And now down to 0. Yeah, zero immortals left here for Sebesdes, but he's still trying to break through, shading in towards the natural. Can we make it in? Up, up. We're forcing our way in. We're going for the probes. Workers are going down. And adepts, they just keep on coming. We're shading into the main. And we get into the mineral line. Oh god. 7 probes, 8 probes going down. And suddenly Sebesdes, he takes an economic lead. Does take a worker lead. Rallying across the map towards the 4th base as well. Pulling SKillous apart. Going for the pylon. That's our Tosis pylon. There's like 6 Stargates, 6 warp gates here. Shield batteries even. Powered by 1 pylon. But we do save it. Pylon does survive. Army gets forced back. Shading towards that natural base. Probes are caught out. And 3 more probes falling. We are running out of adepts, but we have done a decent amount of damage. What I will say though is SKillous has a 3rd. He can reproduce 3 probes at a time. He can sustain some of these losses, but not too many. Meanwhile, across the map, likewise, SKillous in the main base, also getting economic damage done. Getting 6 probes of his own. And now looking at the main armies, what are we looking at? We have an even immortal count. SKillous is ahead in Stalkers. But we have the adept lead. SKillous being forced back. Sebesdes, he's so close to breaking him. Here and now with this push, SKillous' economy, it's in shambles. And sure, we have all these shield batteries, but they're not helping. Not yet. Sebesdes pushing in. Even long distance mining from the 3rd base. Let's go. mining as much as he can. He catches an Immortal, gets one. One Immortal goes down. We're down to one left. Rotating over. Second Immortal has arrived, gets caught out, but yeah, there's just not enough Stalkers. There's just not enough of a gateway army. The Mass Adept is overwhelming SKillous. We focus down the shield battery. No more overcharge. SKillous does shut down the Prism, but that's all he does. GG gets caught, and Sebesdes takes game number 1. GG. Oh my god. Bappy. Let's go. Initially, I was concerned. It was a rough start. Winding it all the way back here, we had so many shield batteries set up, and SKillous had a great move initially to come in from behind to snipe the Warp Prism to deny any Warp Ins. From that moment, we also had a pretty decent fight where we were able to get on top of some of those Immortals as well, but over time, the Adept count was still building up. Even though SKillous was focusing down Immortals, which he was doing, the Adepts were getting so much damage done, the Adept count was slowly building up, and eventually we got up to the point where we could even ignore the army and just go left and right, hit the main, hit the natural, hit the third, just pull SKillous apart. He had a hard time keeping up, we crippled the economy, and that did mean that SKillous could not actually afford to reinforce and warp in those Stalkers. He just didn't have the best economy for it, couldn't afford it, did fall behind, and Sebesdes did overwhelm. GG, well played. Whew, that was a very tense game. Another factor, I think, as well, thankfully for Sebesdes, is it was Ghost River, which is why we went for the 2-base all-in to begin with. But even though the Prism got sniped, because it's Ghost River, it doesn't take long at all to reinforce, even when you're warping in at the natural. So it was rough that Sebesdes had to reinforce from his natural base, but again, it takes seconds to get across the map, and that'd be such a worse position on a larger map like Alcyone or like Site Delta, for example. Here, takes a little bit less time to reinforce, does mean that Sebesdes could keep the pressure up regardless, even without the Warp Prism. And GG. GG, well played. Sebesdes takes his first win of the tournament. Okay, and can he bring down a favored player, right? Like SKillous, he said earlier in an interview, he was like, yo, do you fear anyone in your group? SKillous said no. He had no fear. Maybe he should. Maybe he should. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's get into game 2. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alcyone, we have our blue Protoss player representing Team Liquid. Down in this series, looking to bounce back. It is SKillous. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the red Protoss player from the land of Czechia. Representing Team Roddy, it is Sebesdes. Let's us go. Whew. Oh boy. Now, as we load into Alcyone, we should talk about the maps, especially in the mirror matchup. We spoke about Ghost River, how Ghost River is primed for all-ins. The rush distance is shorter on the map that we just had. Here on Alcyone, the rush distance is longer. It is longer. This is a much more macro-oriented map, so I imagine we have another plan. I imagine we're going to have a different approach here to our next game, both from Sebesdes and from SKillous. We shall see. As for the time being, SKillous dipping into the main. Getting eyes on any proxy pylon shenanigans. It's going to be a 2-gate opener out of Sebesdes, 2-gate opener out of SKillous. So far, we are keeping up with each other. No one is going for any kind of greedier build. And it looks like there's no proxy pylon setup either. Right now, in the early game of PvP, the goal here is to scout each other and to make sure that there is no proxy out on the map. There's a second pylon for SKillous, and there's a second pylon for Sebesdes. So upon seeing this, both players confirm, okay, there's no proxy, we can settle into the early game. As both players do confirm. Sebesdes is about to beat the favorite 2-0, mark my words. Yo, that'd be a statement. That'd be a way to debut in HomeStory Cup. That'd be a way to debut. For now, it's going to be a Stalker Sentry opener. Yeah, Stalker Sentry opener here. Something more macro-oriented. Likewise, SKillous doing the same. Stalker and a Sentry. For those that are unfamiliar, there was a patch recently. I say recently. A couple of months ago that did affect PvP. Sentries are now a little bit more powerful in the PvP matchup. As a result, going for a Sentry and Stalker opener is much more commonplace, is very safe, and allows you to scout as well. Those who don't remember, the buff to the Sentry was it is no longer a light unit, so now it doesn't take bonus damage from Adepts, it doesn't take bonus damage from Oracles either. Likewise, it does bonus damage to shields, so it does extra DPS, specifically in the PvP matchup. So it's going to be Sentry, Stalker for both players, additional Sentries on the way here for SKillous. Likewise, it isn't just good defensively, but allows you to scatter across the map with the Hallucination as we're settling in and expanding. Naturals on the way for our red and blue Protosses. We're going for our tech of choice, and the roles have been reversed. If you remember, last game, Sebesdes did open up Robo for Fast Immortals for a 2-base all-in, and it was SKillous going for Blink. Now, Sebesdes goes to the Twilight Council, which means our red Protoss is going for Blink Stalkers, meanwhile SKillous is going for Immortals. So, yeah, the turns have tabled, and now we have both players going for their opponent's kind of opener in a way. I say that SKillous does go for a much faster Twilight Council. Okay. When I say faster, I mean compared to Sebesdes in Game 1. So Blink is on the way for our red Protoss player. SKillous is going to be behind in Blink, but he will have the advantage of the Robo. And with this Robo, we're not going for Immortals, we're going for the Warp Prism. This makes sense. Now, with this Warp Prism, the goal is to get Adepts into these mineral lines. Adepts, they usually have a really hard time shading into mineral lines here just because you can wall up. You can wall up your natural, and you can deny and deter any Adept aggression. With the Warp Prism, you can just ferry your Adepts right into the main base, right into the natural mineral line, and get damage done. And the Prism is moving out. So it is a way to get ahead economically. Meanwhile, Hallucination Scouts are coming in. Sebesdes is going to be threatening shades with these Adepts to threaten towards the main, but this is the problem, is that if we have the micro, if we have the attention, we can wall up. So SKillous, he does deny the Adept aggression. Meanwhile, SKillous going across the map with his own. We should soon be seeing Adepts warped in. Hallucination does confirm the Robo Opener, and Immortals are coming out. And the Prism is spotted! Sebesdes does get eyes on this, and he will rotate around. Adepts are warping in, but Sebesdes is in position. Yeah, the Prism is denied. We get some hits and some hull damage even. Up! Oh my god. The Adepts, they do manage to shade across the map. They shade into the natural, damage is still being done, and the Prism survives. It was a nice scout from Sebesdes, but SKillous still got in. Got 2 probes. Will be shut down, as one Adept barely does escape. But at least we zone away the Prism. You know, this could have been a lot worse. This could have been so much more damage. Sebesdes does defend. 3rd base is now on the way. It's halfway done. And it really is the same build. Remember last game how Sebesdes went for a 2-base all-in? SKillous is going for a 2-base all-in. Okay. You know what? Maybe SKillous liked it. Maybe he saw the last game. He's like, you know what? I can do this. I can. So we're massing Immortals. We have 4 gates on the way. It's going to be a 6-gate setup. Immortals and Adepts. And now Sebesdes has to be the defender. Now we have to defend. Now we have to survive. And I'm a little bit concerned because we have not seen the gateway explosion. The Prism! Ooh, Prism goes down. Big pickup. Nice catch there from Sebesdes, but likewise, he also bleeds out some Stalkers. There's 1 shield battery at the 3rd base. Hallucination going in. Wait, go in, Papi, go in! Hallucination doesn't quite confirm, and Sebesdes, because he doesn't see, we need shield batteries, and he doesn't know. He hasn't confirmed the gateway explosion. SKillous rotating around, reinforcements are on the way. Reinforcements are delayed because of the Warp Prism being sniped, but the Warp Prism is being rebuilt. We catch the Immortal, the Force Field, oh my god, we catch 1, we catch the 2nd Immortal as well. A very good start here for Sebesdes. The Immortal will go down, gets a couple of extra hits in. We pull back to the shield battery, we have an overcharge available. Immortals go down. Oh, but we can shade into the natural base, and where is the shield battery? We're not prepared. Sebesdes, he's not ready for this. 5 probes go down at the same time we hit the 3rd. Shield battery falls. 0 shield batteries between the natural and the 3rd. And Sebesdes is getting pulled apart. Probes are going down left and right. We're shading into the main base as well. Again, unfortunately, Sebesdes, he didn't know how committed this was. He didn't see the gateways. GG gets called, and SKillous takes game number 2, tying us up 1-1. GG. GG, well played. We are going to the ace match. Unfortunately, Sebesdes, again, he was just lacking some crucial information there to let him know to wall up, to let him know to throw down shield batteries, to warp in more defensively, to, you know, think of a more defensive outlook of that game. He just wasn't aware of how aggressive SKillous was going to be, and last we were woefully underprepared with that. We're going to the ace match. We're going all the way to game 3 already, though. To have an ace match against SKillous is still very impressive, and we can still bring it back. As we're getting ready for game 3, going to be on Oceanborn. Jumping into Oceanborn here. Let's go. Going to be jumping in. It looks like the mainstream may be joining us as well. What was the mainstream covering? Mainstream should have been covering... what were they in? I think they were covering Gumiho versus Euthermal, but it looks like they're going to be jumping into this as well. Into the ace match, and here we go. Spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have our blue Protoss player representing Team Liquid. Tying things up 1-1, forcing the ace match, it is SKillous. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have the red Protoss player representing Team Roddy from the land of Czechia. It is Sebesdes. Here we go. Now, as we settle into this, as we do settle in, so far, the same build has won both games. Game 1, Sebesdes went for a Robo Glaive Adept all-in on 2 bases. Game 2, SKillous did something very similar. So far, both times this has won each other the game, which means, clearly, we have to 2-base all-in each other in the ace match, right? Kappa. Kappa. It's possible, it's possible. We'll see. We'll see what happens here in this PvP, as we should be setting up for our 2 gate openers. Probe Scout coming in for SKillous. Mainstream were doing a segment for their main sponsor called Koro, and I kept hearing it as Kuro. Yeah, shout out to Koro. I think they're like a coffee company, question mark. I did see that they're a new sponsor, and yeah, I hope the Mainstream is having fun with that. But yeah, I think they're a coffee company if I'm not mistaken. Oh, as we are going for a proxy pylon. Okay, so a couple of important things. SKillous comes in with a Probe Scout, and I mentioned this at the start of game 2, how early on you're looking for your pylon. And SKillous knows, hold up, where is your second pylon? The second pylon should be in the main, it isn't. So he knows it should be somewhere, and we can see this is a fake proxy pylon. It is not real, it's just out on the map, there's no actual proxy with this. So Sebesdes is trying to get into the head of SKillous and force him to overreact. SKillous does get out of the main. Sebesdes still being active with that probe on the right hand side. We could actually commit to a real proxy pylon here, so I'm curious what is done with this. The pylon is hidden. Back at home, it's going to be a double Stalker opener out of SKillous. This means we have a lot of DPS, we have a lot of firepower. This makes sense as a response. This also means that we won't have a hallucination to scout. Sebesdes does come in. He should get eyes, yep, on the second pylon and on the third pylon as well. So Sebesdes knows that there is no proxy that he has to be concerned about. He's expanding back at home. He's just chilling, freely expanding, and we'll have a slight economic lead. SKillous now expands, but again, it's going to be slightly later than the expansion of Sebesdes. By a couple of seconds. You can see SKillous, he has found the pylon. I believe he was being active with the probe, which is why he expanded. But looking at the vision, SKillous, he did end up finding the pylon on the left-hand side, which is why he can freely expand. And now we can move out. So he's now aware of what's been going on. He won't overreact. He's going to be pushing. Back at home, Sebesdes is ready with the shield battery. Shield battery is done. Overcharge will soon be available. Even though SKillous has more DPS, Sebesdes has more sustain. So he does hold. Hallucination diving in. It is going to be another Robo opener for both players. Remember earlier we were like, yo, it's been like 2 base all-ins that have been winning games for both Sebesdes and SKillous. Do we open up Robo into Immortal into Glaive Adepts again? Like, is that happening? Twilight Council's on the way. War Prism here from SKillous. Prism from Sebesdes. Do we go for mirrored builds? Well, the pylon gets shut down. Sebesdes does back off. Hallucination diving in. Now, it's a little bit too early to call, but we'll keep an eye on the gateway count. We'll keep an eye on the Twilight Council timing. Twilight Council's almost done. We'll see if SKillous goes for Glaives or Blink. I'm leaning towards Glaives again. We're already working on Immortals. Show us what you got. Show us what you got. There it is, Glaives on the way. We should be seeing a Gateway Explosion. This is the beginnings of a 2-base all-in from SKillous. Same build 2 games in a row. Meanwhile, Twilight Council is a little bit later for Sebesdes. He's working towards it. Has at least the prison to be active on the map. But SKillous will be able to hit a little bit faster, a little bit sooner. Oh boy. We are setting up defensively. There's the Gateway Explosion. 2 gates already done, 3 more gates on the way. It's going to be a 5-gate 2-base all-in. I think we go up to 6 gateways if I remember correctly. Yep, 6 gates. 6 gates and 2 bases. That's how much we can afford. That's how much we can sustain. And it's just a 2-base all-in out of Skillous. Sebesdes back at home. Will we prepare? Will we get ready for this? Additional gateways on the way. Show us the Glaives. Show us, man. there it is. So, it is a similar variation of the same build. Obviously, Skillous is a lot faster. It does prioritize Glaives. Sebesdes is later. Any kind of big variations here. Skillous, he's up in Immortals. Sebesdes has a higher probe count, is taking an extra gas geyser. It looks like Sebesdes' variation hits a little bit later with extra gases and with the later timing. Skillous is already pushing. Skillous, he's already moving out. Sebesdes does confirm, but can he stop it? Again, Force Field's going to be key. Force Field's going to be so important here. Likewise, there's at least 1 shield battery. There's going to be an overcharge. 2 base versus 2 base. Can Sebesdes hold on? He does have the defender's advantage. That means he reinforces with Immortals that much faster. But he's down in Immortal. Force Fields are baited out. Again, Force Fields are a resource that we're working with. And Skillous, he's diving into the main. Immortals into the main base. Adepts, likewise, towards the main as well. Shield battery finish. Oh, he's barely cancelled. Just in time. We're going for the pylon. We do threaten the pylon at the same time. Adepts towards the natural. Can Sebesdes hold on? Can he split up his army? Boys are being pulled. Skillous pushing in from both sides, from both angles. He's getting damage done. Yeah, probes are falling. A probes go down. Adepts, they shade into the main. We bust into the main base. Sebesdes trying to keep up. 10 workers go down. Glaives is done for our Red Protoss player. But the Robo is depowered. Another big warp in into the main. Gateways to depower, which means we can't reinforce anywhere near as hard. We are forcing this back though. The Immortals putting in a lot of work. Good juggling here from Skillous. Meanwhile, we just shade towards the natural. More probes going down. Skillous, his goal here was economic damage, and he gets 19 probe kills. 19-20 probe kills. The Force Fields, they zone the army, stuck in the main base. GG gets called. Sebesdes is pulled apart, and Skillous takes the series 2-1. GG. GG, well played. Interesting series. It was just 2 base all in versus 2 base all in versus 2 base all in here all around. And it went all the way to the ace match, thankfully. It went all the way to game 3, but Skillous did come out on top. In the end, his build did seem a little bit crisper, is what I will say. It did feel a little bit more efficient, a little bit more concise, did hit faster, did hit harder. Unfortunately, Sebesdes did have to take a more defensive role and had a hard time keeping up with Skillous in the end. He was pulled apart. It looked like he was able to focus down a lot of, at least zone away the Prism and try to focus on the Immortals, but alas, he was just being pulled apart economically. So many probes went down. And we also depowered the gateway, so we just could not keep up warp-in-wise with Skillous. GG, well played. Skillous takes it. But a shout out to Sebesdes for his first win of the group against Skillous of all players. Not too bad. Not a bad start there for Sebesdes, as we are going to be following Skillous into his next series. I do need a moment, though, to have a look at the bracket to keep up and catch up with what has been going on.